Hello everyone, Paul Hayden here with my Bioshock Dystopia presentation. We are going to be talking about dystopias, then we'll see a video of the video game Bioshock, and we'll see the city of Rapture. And once we see that, then we will discuss the differences between the community in The Giver and the city of Rapture in Bioshock, and how they're the same, how they're different, and just what makes a dystopia altogether. So let's just jump right in.
Let's get into our Bioshock Giver comparison. I'm going to do this as though it were a 30-minute lesson, but instead of pausing for all of the long discussions or when we break to have other discussions, we're just going to assume those happen, just for time constraints and things like that. Because the video at the end of this presentation is rather lengthy, so I'm going to try to make this pretty brief, but still cover all the topics. So, let's get into the idea of dystopias here. Would it be a good idea if everyone were actually equal? If every job would have the same amount of pay? There'd be no rich and no poor people. That sounds pretty incredible, right? I think I'm all for it. I think that's a fantastic idea. But that means a garbage man gets paid the same as a brain surgeon. Is that fair? So someone who spends years and years studying and practicing their craft so they can save a life, save dozens and dozens of lives, gets paid the same as someone who doesn't need any extra education, just, some good muscles and a strong work ethic. Both are very important jobs, extremely important jobs. But do you feel that's fair, that everyone's equal? Okay, so now that we talked about equality, let's discuss some topics here. We're going to break into groups of 3 to discuss one of the following topics. We have controlling society through pleasure, eliminating emotions, eliminating culture, like religion, family, ethnicity, etc., and altering facts and history with propaganda. So everyone, we're going to pick one of these topics. You're going to write all of your, whatever thoughts that your group comes up with on it, and then we're going to talk about them. Okay, now that we have had our discussion, let's begin with the first topic, who had controlling society through pleasure. These are the things that I found about it. That in societies that control the public through pleasure, rules are not very strict. Take Brave New World, for example, one of the most famous dystopias about this kind of setup. The people are given an antidepressant hallucinogen called soma, and this keeps them happy and it keeps them calm. It makes them easy to control. Polygamy is often encouraged, which eliminates any feelings of love and the idea of soulmates. It's just partying and having a good time. There's no jealousy. There's no moral code like that. It's, just the idea of pure unadulterated pleasure. And the media is controlled, so only good news is reported to the masses. They don't hear about any of the nasty stuff going on in the world. It's all about the wonderful things that they hear within their wonderful community. Eliminating emotions. In The Giver, which we just read, they have the pill. They take it every day, and it eliminates stirrings, these strong feelings of emotion that they get. And they have to suppress that, because if they don't, then they start to notice that things are not right in the community, that people are they're boring, they're lifeless. In Brave New World, there's Soma, which we already talked about, makes people very compliant. In 1984, possibly the most famous dystopian novel ever written, there are the thought police, who, if you do anything against the party, they shut it down. Then they make sure that you never do that again. And in real life, they're sensationalizing from the media or telling you how to feel. All the time, you see on the news or on online newspapers and things like that, they tell you how to feel through their headlines. Some Some companies are, I don't want to get political, but if you look at the current day, there are some news stations that are very pro-President Trump, and there are some that are very anti-President Trump, and they are affecting your emotions just from how they word an article about a speech that was given or something like that. And so we just have to be very attentive at what we read and how we read it. Eliminating culture. So in The Giver, there's the idea of sameness. There's no color. There's no up or down even to remove the fact that people can be above other people. There's no weather. There's no choice. There's a line in The Giver even, and if you listen to the podcast, you'd know it, where they say, what if people were given choice? What if they could choose a mate and chose wrong? Isn't that terrible? That would be the worst. And, you know, the idea of just not having these things, not having a religion or choice or color, just removing all of these so everything is as close to cohesiveness as possible. In Brave New World, the people who live on reservations outside of the main community, they have an identity, they have a culture, they have a religion, they have a belief system, and they're called savages because of it. They're looked down on, they're primitive, they're these horrible beings that still feel, and why would they do that to themselves? That is just disgusting. And so it's viewed as, it does exist in that book, but it's viewed as this taboo thing that you just shouldn't do. And in 1984, for eliminating culture, what they do is they create a whole new culture. They introduce a language called Newspeak that everyone must learn. And all of the old way of writing is gone. They start rewriting books in Newspeak and getting rid of the old ones in regular standard English. And everything is about the party, for the party, of Oceania. And anything else doesn't count. If you are against the party, you are against your country. So they make a pure culture focused purely for them. And altering facts. The Giver. In The Giver, there are no memories of the past at all. That's the Giver's job, is he gives the memories to our main character, Jonas, the receiver. And he stores all of the memories of the past, so no one else has to remember them. There's no concept of animals. There's no concept of war. There's no concept of religion or music. And those are all part of the culture, too, in the altering of facts and things like that. In 1984, they have a propaganda machine that rewrites history as they see fit. The people just learn to accept it, and that's called doublethink. They recognize that things are changing, that history has changed overnight. But the party must be right, so they let it go. And in 1984, the party's slogan is, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. Again, the idea that whoever's in charge, they can take care of whatever's going on right now. And today in modern day, we actually just saw that a month ago with alternative facts and fake news. Fake news, there are news stations that make up the news, and then it gets shared on social media and spreads like wildfire without people fact-checking, and then we have a crisis on our hands. And then there are alternative facts, which are just straight-up lies, and hopefully something's done about that, and we don't hear too much about that anymore. That would be very nice. Now, for our writing assignment, we are going to watch a video on BioShock, the introduction of it, and when we are done with BioShock, we will reconvene here to see our final writing assignment for the day. All right, let's jump into the video. Hello everyone, this is BioShock. Unfortunately, I have to record it in a window like this, so hopefully I'll be able to crop it so it'll be full screen when you watch this, and you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. But let's jump into the game here, and we can discuss it afterwards. So, we're going to visit the city of Rapture, made by a man named Andrew Ryan. We're going to talk about Andrew Ryan in a moment, but first we're going to see a little bit of story, and then we'll talk about it.
They told me, son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
And here when the Bioshock logo pops up, pay attention to it. You'll see the symbolism, I hope, that it starts off beautiful and pristine, and slowly rusts and chips and falls apart, symbolizing how a utopia is, when you see it more closely, becomes a dystopia. There's something not quite right with it. And now the plane has crashed in the middle of the Atlantic. We are swimming to the surface, and as we're doing so, let's talk a little bit about Andrew Ryan. Andrew Ryan's character is named after a philosopher and novelist named Ayn Rand. And Ayn Rand, she believed in selfishness to better humanity. Now, the more selfish you were, the more you accomplished for yourself, the more you could accomplish for humankind. She was very much against the collective good. And she believed that slowed people down. And Andrew Ryan calls people who rely on others parasites. So he borrows from that idea as well. Rapture is a very capitalist-oriented city. If you have a way to make humanity better, you're going to market it. You're not going to give it away. One example is a drug named Atom. Atom is used to make something called plasmids, and you're going to see 2 advertisements for plasmids in this little 5-minute video. Plasmids they contain a drug called Atom. Atom creates superpowers for people, essentially. But it is highly, highly addictive, and it turns people into very, very aggressive creatures. But Andrew Ryan's the only one who controls the Atom. So that makes him the leader of this city. For another reason for him to be the leader, other than the fact that he, made it. But because he controls the Atom, he controls the drug, he controls the people. So let's enter this lighthouse and see what we find. And there's a bust of Andrew Ryan with the phrase, "No gods or kings, only man. There is no religion, there is no government, it is only you and what you can accomplish." And then he has here, in what country is there a place for people like me? So again, there's that word me, not us, it's me. And in what country is there a place for people like me? There isn't. It's only this city. So he's instilling this love for Rapture already, this need to belong here. This is the perfect place, so to speak. And here are the 3 main pillars of Rapture. We have art, industry, and over here is science. Again, no mention of family, government, religion, or anything like that. So here's the bathysphere that will take us to Rapture. And as we enter, if you look up, there he is looking down on us one last time before we enter. Now, we get to see a little bit of propaganda, advertising plasmids. We're not even in the city yet, and already, plasmids, what are these? Oh, well, everyone wants one, apparently. Trying to get people hooked, so we can be controlled.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, rapture can become your city as well.
So, welcome to Rapture. You can see it's a magnificent feat of humankind. And you're going to see another bit of propaganda and egocentrism coming up on the bottom right when we enter into the city. It says, all good things of this earth flow into the city. So again, saying everything that's good on this earth comes here, comes to this city. So you are one of us now. You're one of the great things. And one more plasmid ad / propaganda for good measure. And then in a nice sense of irony, we get a good glimpse of a splicer, a person hopelessly addicted to plasmids and Adam. And then shortly after that, I'm going to have to turn it off because it's inappropriate for school. As soon as we see the splicers.
Johnny, security's banging off all over. Get a move on!
So there's Johnny in the front, and behind him in the shadows there is a splicer. Highly unpredictable and very aggressive people. And we'll stop it there. So that is BioShock. And the city of Rapture. So now let's get back to our presentation so we can talk about it. Now that we have seen the BioShock video, it's time to discuss it. So think about what you just saw in BioShock. How did Rapture have similarities to the community in The Giver, and how was it different? Which one do you think would have been better to live in, and why? When you're done with the writing assignment, turn it in, and that's all we have for the class. Have a good day.